The world is waiting for the Americans to wake up and to fight against this communist specter that is ruling our world. You should grow one as well, man. I'm sure you'll be strong as, a freaking king in your own right, man. I tell you, I was watching the Barbarian series, and that was
shaken. Mitchell Gerber is back today. Welcome back to All In. This is
thank you, Rick.
Yeah, if you didn't catch the original episode from a month ago, you're going to want to catch that because we just barely scratched the surface, and today is part 2. And I'm Rick Jordan, your host. I need to ask you to go back and listen to the episode, but even more importantly, share this out, please, with as many people as possible, because this is real serious stuff that we're talking about, and we don't take sponsors on the show. The only way we can impact and bring more truth into the world is with your help. So please share this out. And I'm going to look right at the camera. Please share this out with everybody that you possibly can, because we need to get the word out about a lot of things and help more people. So Mitchell, welcome back, my man. We were just jumping into this again, and I was talking about your beard, and you're like, because in a month's time here, you grew a beard, you got married, congratulations. That's awesome.
Time flies when you're having fun, Rick. Time flies when you're having fun. I know. Remember the last conversation we got into, man? We didn't even have time to get really deep into the nuts and grinds, man.
I know. And to recap, because this could be the first time people are listening to this, without the previous episode, they need to go back and listen to the first episode, because it was really like a foundation building on the Falun Gong and what's happening in China with the organ harvesting. And it was just mind blowing. And I've done some research after that. I mean, nowhere near as deep as yours, but just looking at how this has been suppressed over the years by the CCP was mind blowing to me. And where I think we left off, we were starting to compare, or really ask the question around the media and why nobody chooses to cover this right now, like bring it out into the open. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on, of course, but meaning last year with the pandemic and this year, which I feel is a huge distraction anyways. I'm just going to come out and say that because it's a distraction from a lot of the other things that are interesting. You got married over the past month. I actually had COVID over the last month too.
Wow.
Probably the Delta variants, whatever, but I'm vaccinated. I got vaccinated so I could travel internationally, right? Because other countries require that now in order to get into them. That's the reason why I got vaccinated. But still, I ended up getting it. I mean, full blown, I don't feel like it was lessened, whatever, but now I realize it's like all this stuff going on, man, is kind of a distraction from what I feel that we really should be putting our attention on, like things that we're talking about today.
Oh, absolutely. You just nailed it. You put the nail on the head and the nail in the coffin. I mean, Rick, I've been on this crusade in exposing the Chinese Communist Party for going on 22 years. I started when I was a young buck when I was studying at the University of Georgia in the States. I am an American citizen. I am of the Jewish faith. And the only reason why I was born in South Africa is because my family left the Holocaust, well, what was left of them after being slaughtered by the Nazis in Lithuania and Hungary, fled to South Africa, and that was I was born. But I've been truly on the case in exposing this new form of evil, this forced organ harvesting genocide. And don't think, folks, it's got nothing to do with you, because this is being exported to the United States now. Okay, look at Australia, look at Iran, look at all these different places which are being forced now to take vaccines. And whatever you want to talk about, whether it's, if you want to take the shot or not, that's your consent, that is your choice. But the difference is being forced. And when you see these kind of policies being rolled out in normal constitutional republics that have the right of freedoms, the liberty and justice to stand as a sovereign citizen and to protect your consent through the Second Amendment, that force is unconstitutional. It is not allowed. It's not acceptable. It then comes into tyranny, which I've been dealing with living in Vietnam now on the borders of China, exposing the Chinese Communist Party, who have been killing hundreds and thousands of people, namely the Falun Gong, as we were talking about. The evidence is irrefutable. But like you said, Rick, what you mentioned about the media and we can go so far as to call out the multinational corporations, the big tech, big pharma. A special operator assassin once told me, extinction, Mitch, before a loss of profit. People will take profit. They're making billions off big pharma, billions off these vaccines, billions off the slave labor, billions off the child trafficking, and multi-billions of billions off the organ harvesting. So, and they're just covering it up. The media is just lying, and they're colluding with the Chinese Communist Party. And yeah, that's the brunt of it.
It is, for sure. And I mean, we record these episodes several weeks in advance before they publish. You know, we're coming off the heels of the huge Facebook outage. And look at the amount of media coverage that got. You know, and I know because I was on the media. I went on Newsmax, I was on Reuters, you know, the BBC is calling. I was on Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. over this Facebook outage. And everybody's covering this, but nobody's covering what we're talking about. And then you look even beyond that, because Newsmax was kind enough to post my interview on Twitter and tagged me, which was awesome. They did the same on Facebook, but the Facebook post got suppressed because we were talking about Facebook. Yeah, and that's very similar to what's going on now. And I was actually even calling out Google in a positive way. You know, now, my movie last year, Liberty Lockdown, there was some stuff that Google erased from the map, you know, because we weren't able to put that on YouTube because it was quoted as like sensitive content or something like that. And there's some other shows, some episodes that I've tried to promote that they have just deactivated the ads for that on Google because of the YouTube saying that it's sensitive content, and that's the reason why they won't promote it. You know, but I still was commending Google because at least they're a little bit more transparent, and they'll tell you why. Because you can go and download their search results and all of that, but they'll say, hey, we don't do this because, versus Facebook is a freaking walled garden. You know, so everywhere people would want to communicate about what's going on in China right now with the CCP, you can't.
Definitely not. And, you know, Google, they're very manipulative. But once again, these people that you're dealing with, these huge, massive conglomerates, they are diabolical geniuses. And that seems like an oxymoron, but they're the masters of deception, masters of manipulation. They'll pretend to be so loving and kind and show their heart-centered love about humanity and we're doing the right thing. But yet behind the scenes, they're truly evil. They are complicitly aiding and abetting the Chinese Communist Party. And we're talking about massive multinational corporations, Western elites, multi-corporations. There was a database, Rick, and I shared this the last time, of at least 1.95 million Chinese communist CCP spies that have infiltrated into the multinational corporations like HSBC, Bank, Boeing, a lot of the mainstream media in America and around the world, the UK, the US, and the British consulates and governments, the World Health Organization, the United Nations. Hell, the Chinese Communist Party runs 4 of the 15 specialized units of the World Health Organization of the United Nations. No wonder nothing gets done in terms of exposing the CCP, because when you have a mass murdering regime that has killed over 100 million people, decimated 5,000 years of culture, killed the spirit of the Chinese people, and now are sending hundreds and thousands of innocent spiritual practitioners of just an innocent group of people who want to practice their spiritual beliefs, namely Falun Gong and Uyghur Muslims and house Christians and Tibetans, to state-mandated death camps and hospitals, cutting out the organs while alive and selling them for millions of dollars, fueling a multi-billion-dollar business. And this is covered up intentionally because everyone is getting paid. So again, the special operator, I've met a lot of people, Rick, I'm sure you have too. That's why birds of a feather stick together. And that's why we're coming together in this historic time. Nothing is for coincidence. Everything's for a reason, and everything's divinely arranged. That's what I believe.
Yeah, because I'm going to come from the perspective of just the general person listening now, right? Because a lot of the stuff that, you know, I've been on other shows too could be called conspiracy theories, right? And I'm with you, and I understand that. So can we unpack this a little bit? Because there's one thing that you said around that the Chinese government runs 4 out of the 15 divisions of the WHO, right? The World Health Organization?
Oh, the United Nations.
United Nations. Okay, so not the World Health Organization. Because if we take this back, and we saw different things over the pandemic too, and it was interesting. I was just talking about this the other day, about even the origins of the coronavirus, of COVID-19, of SARS-2, that virus that, as President Trump would call it, the China virus. And I heard another person, a marketer, Dan Kennedy, call it the China virus the other day at an event I was in Florida. 3,500 people live, by the way, which was phenomenal. Wow. Seeing that many people gather again to conduct business and try to continue to move the economy along. It was amazing. The energy in the room was phenomenal. Tony Robbins closed out the whole thing, which, by the way, he's very much on the same side of the table as you and I are, because about the first hour of his 6 hours that we're there, we're talking all about this and in the past 2 years as far as what's going on and how people are using fear to drive movement in society. And that was off this virus. So if you look at that from back then, media suppressed coverage, obviously, because this is conspiracy theories, right? Because back with former President Trump, he came out and said, this virus came from a lab in Wuhan. Hands down, that's the intelligence that we have. And everyone's throwing their arms up saying, no, that's not it. Not possible. It came from the bat or from whatever it was. I can't even remember the animal that they said that it came from, that it was transmitting it. It looked like this ugly looking thing, And then here we are after the new administration takes hold. I think it was March or something like that. And they said that the Biden administration was now going to reopen the investigation. And I don't know what happened to that, but they were going to reopen the investigation based on quote unquote new evidence that this came from the lab in China. And there's a point here too, because now the WHO, was it just a month or two ago, said the same thing, that now they're going to investigate the origins of this. And saying that it's actually, they feel now that it actually came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where the whole thing was cooked up. I'm not saying that it was a bioweapon or anything, but they're just trying to find out where the freaking thing came from. But this has been suppressed now for how many years, right? Since this actually came about, almost 2 years now at this point. That's just 2 years compared to what's going on with the organ harvesting. So how do we get the media to cover this? Because they are covering these things now, when they would suppress before with the pandemic, saying that, President Trump, he's crazy. He's just causing division in the country by saying that this virus was manufactured in a lab in China. That's all it is. So we're going to hate on him a bit. But now, because it's somebody else, why are they all of a sudden covering this and saying, hey, we're going to research and look into if this actually came from the CCP? Why do they care about this so much, and what caused that tipping point, and how can we get them to care about the organ harvesting?
That's a great point. I think it's psychological warfare. I think that they're playing two sides of the fence here. It's, like I said before in the introduction of the interview, or the discussion, I'd rather say, it's deception. It's deception. If you really truly understand how the CCP works and its minions, the World Health Organization is not our ally. Biden is not our ally. They are deeply entrenched with the CCP. They just come out and say, "Oh well, we have to investigate the lab," but you never hear about it again. Oh, we have to investigate this and that, but you never hear about it again. That's why they are playing a very manipulative and deceptive game, and it's incredibly deceptive. And it's a way to acknowledge something, but it's like conditional acceptance. Like, yes, it's happening, and we're going to investigate, but that's it. So to just give it out there in order to almost like shift blame, but yet, even though you're in on it at the same time, shift blame and pivot to something else while you have outright said, yeah, we'll go and have a look. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very manipulative. It's deceptive.
Let's take it a step further then too, because with what you're saying and how I believe that you're saying that Biden is in bed with the CCP. Would that be accurate?
101%.
So
yes.
tell me then your take on this new security alliance right? This new military security alliance between the UK, Australia, and the U.S., because now we're going to be providing, the U.S. is going to be providing nuclear propulsion technology to Australia to produce nuclear-powered submarines. And this is a new security alliance that Biden just announced a couple of weeks ago, saying that this is really to combat what's going on off the coast of China. Because there was a naval skirmish there, right?
Oh, come on. Oh, come
I'm
on.
trying to get a rise out of you, man. But I'm saying, this is what the media is covering, right?
I know, exactly. I know. It's smoke and mirrors, because the reality is that what is theory and what is reality? A lot of people like to divulge into conspiracy theories. I look at the real situation. Look at Australia. Look at the UK. Boris Johnson. Dan Andrews. These people are aligned with the CCP. You can see Justin Trudeau aligned with the CCP. Biden. Trump wasn't aligned with the CCP. And I'm even going to go so far as to say that President Xi is fighting against the Jiang faction. Jiang Zemin controls the CCP. It was Jiang Zemin who is the former dictator. Not a lot of people know this, and it's going to come all out. Jiang Zemin, the former president of China, the CCP president, the military dictator in 1999, who outlawed and brutally persecuted and now is forcefully harvesting hundreds and thousands of innocent Falun Gong practitioners, demonizing them and killing them for their organs and fueling a multi-billion-dollar business. He also created the Chinese Communist Party Wuhan virus, aka bioweapon, whatever you want to call it. This is all going to come out, Rick. People can call me conspiracy theorist, that's fine. The gentleman that I would love you to have on your show, his name is Cyrus Osman. I'm going to play a clip about it, if I may.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because he connects both the genocide of the Falun Gong and the bioweapon, or the Wuhan lab creation, man-made. Well, what else is a man-made virus? It's a bioweapon. You can't patent something naturally. So let's just be honest, but I don't want to get you taken off YouTube and Facebook, because I'm all off these things, because I just go straight. I just shoot straight, because I've got so much evidence. I've been doing this for 22 years and I've risked all of it. When you're in a poker game, you want to risk it all. I'm the kind of guy who risks it all, man. I'm no holds barred, brother. Like Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah, brother.
That's a flash from the past right there.
That's a flash from the past.
Why all of a sudden do I want a Slim Jim? I don't know.
You know what I mean? But these guys lived for what they believed in. They believed in what they died for what they believed in. That's what I'm saying. Like a William Wallace. But anyway, Cyrus Osman, he's written 4 books about this, and he connects the bioweapon to President Jiang Zemin, who is the former president of China, and the genocide. Let me play a clip for you, if I may.
Clip, man.
Yeah.
This is not really hard. Don't worry about the banning stuff, because this is the way I like to present things, and that's why I like to show the other side, right? And just I like building the case almost as if a lawyer would build a case in court, because it's just trying to present truth and facts. That's it, without going down the route of saying, we're not conjecturing here. We're not. I think I just made up that word. It's not conjecture.
Or hyperbole. Exactly.
Yeah, because this is what's actually going on, and here are the sources that say that.
Yes.
I love that. All right, man. You got the clip?
Absolutely. This is Cyrus Osman from the AI organization in San Diego. Please have him on. If you'd like, I'll give him your direct contact as well.
Yeah, please.
Public disclosure. The person responsible for COVID-19, the creation of the CCP virus, is no other than the former dictator Communist Party of China, Jiang Zemin.
Now, before I continue, this is the man who orchestrated not only the genocide of the Falun Gong in China and the ethnic cleansing of the Uyghur Muslims, but what Cyrus is talking about, the Wuhan virus. Let's continue.
He not only ordered the creation of the COVID-19, but he ordered the cover-up right thereafter of the Wuhan lab, leading to millions of people dead around the world. The former dictator of Communist Party of China, Jiang Zemin, is not only responsible for the Wuhan lab, the bioweapon, but the death and ethnic cleansing of millions in China, not to exclude the Falun Dafa practitioners, Tibetans, Uyghurs, House Christians, and the common citizens, and now millions of people around the world dead because of him the gang of Jiang Zemin, his associates, and immediate family members who were overseeing the cover-up of the Wuhan lab. Let everybody know, this is Cyrus, the AI organization.
And I think that was pretty profound what he said. He's written 4 books about this. He has articles coming out. Please, Rick, have him on your show. I think he was on the Stu Peters show. He's going to go on Steve Bannon. That's where I that's where I met Cyrus, from Steve Bannon. He contacted me with his PR team and said, look, we have the names of all the Western officials that are in on this organ harvesting and this bioweapon or this pandemic, as Judy Mikovits was called about it. So I think it'll be very interesting for you to have him on and discuss with him.
That would be an interesting conversation, because obviously you're knee deep in this, and I tried to do that myself last year with filming the movie around government overreach. It wasn't really about the origins, but it was around the comparisons between what was happening in the U.S. and really other countries around the world compared to what communism actually is. Even interviewing Alan Zhang in San Francisco, that was the first stop, because he has the largest Chinese American radio show that exists in the United States. And he came over here for that American dream, but he was born and raised in Wuhan, and was comparing, which was so crazy, because he was comparing what he grew up with to some of these forced lockdowns. In Australia, I feel bad for our brothers down under, because I do business with some people down there too, and I have personal relationships there with a couple individuals, and just seeing what's happening with them. And you don't hear much anymore about what's actually, like, in the media, about what's actually going on, except I was encouraged because then there's New Zealand, right, that just a couple of days ago that said, we're opening everything back up. We're just going to fight this thing and let it take its natural course. And I'm thinking Australia is probably like, oh shit, what do we do now? Because somebody is taking a stand, and this happens to be New Zealand. Absolutely. How do we get somebody to take a stand for what's going on with the organ harvesting?
Gerald Celente from the Trent Institute in Manhattan, he said that people have lost the will to fight, Rick. The people, for the people, by the people, they have to take up the responsibility to band together and overthrow an entity of tyranny. It's most important. I'm not talking about revolution here. I'm not a cultural Marxist, radical communist. I believe in patriotism and self-sovereignty and the right to be free. And when that is jeopardized, if that is interfered upon, if that is threatened, we have to, as a people, fight back against that. Now, in terms of the organ harvesting, because there is so much money involved, Rick, and there's so many players involved, this is a multi-billion-dollar business. And I wanted to share with you, while we talk, there's the reason also why, and I want to share my screen if I may. The reason why, and as you can see here, this is from the Epoch Times. This is in December 13, 2020, about a year ago. CCP members hold positions at British consulates, major UK, US firms' leaked database. You've asked the question, why isn't the organ harvesting? Why isn't the bioweapon? Why isn't all this information that we have irrefutable evidence? Cyrus has irrefutable evidence. Other people, Dr. Li Mingyan, who was interviewed by Steve Bannon, who was the virologist who wrote papers about the unrestricted bioweapon made by the Wuhan lab, by CCP, by Jiang Zemin, the former president. Why isn't this being exposed? Well, a recent leaked database has revealed at least 1.9 million, 5 million registered members of the Chinese Communist Party have been employed at universities, major corporations, and the British consulates around the world. And not only that, and this is, by the way, a great newspaper, the Epoch Times. I implore people to buy to subscribe. The multinational corporations, I mean, I have lists of bribes, amounts. Okay, just like I showed you the amounts that organs are going for from the CCP. They had 20 websites up before they took them down. Luckily, the investigators got screenshots of them. But the bribes that have been given to the leftist media, to the right, the conservative media, I tell you, is unbelievable. From Fox News to CNN to Forbes to, what was the other one? I think it was PBS, I'm not sure. But the New York Times, of course, MSNBC, NBC.
Yeah.
the amount of bribes that these people have been getting from the CCP, and I've also found out, we've also have evidence that they are using the communist mouthpiece propaganda, literally written and given by CCP to these multinational corporations and the legacy media to demonize Falun Gong, to demonize Trump, to demonize the Constitutional Republic, the American flag, and usher in this communist specter to dismantle the constitutional traditions and values. And this has been going on since the 60s. Okay, this is nothing new, but it was ramped up more and more. But the one thing, Rick, I tell you the reason why we haven't fallen to complete tyranny like Australia or Iran, or what's the other one that was Canada. Canada's going through that as well, is because we have the Second Amendment. I'm an American citizen. We have the Second Amendment, so they are very wary to just go into people's houses and take them out, because they're taking people out of their houses in Vietnam, forcing them to take the PCR test, forcing them to take the vaccines in China, forcing them to wear the mask, forcing them to take the vaccine, which, whether it's good or not, that's a whole other debate. But you cannot be forced. They're not pushing that to the agenda too hard right now because they know about 80 to 100 million Americans are armed. And that is why, thank God for the Second Amendment that protects all the other amendments. And that's why what my intelligence has reported to me, because I like to spend my time around people who are smarter than me, that the militias are forming and there's a huge resistance in America over their dead bodies. Don't tread on me. That if you're going to come for my family, you're going to come for my children and do the same thing that you're doing in Australia. You know what? The Australian people are heroes because we're seeing what is going on with them because they're not armed. The tradies, the unionists who are fighting against this terror, being arrested for jogging but eating without a mask, it's disgusting. This is what the Americans are seeing. So the world, and I've talked to many people, the world is waiting for the Americans to wake up and to fight against this communist specter that is ruling our world.
I foresee that there's going to be a major conflict that comes up within the next decade, because and this isn't doom and gloom. This is just history, right? I mean, we compared this to Hitler last time, because at some point in time, because from what I'm hearing you say, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but we didn't hear the why. When Hitler became a threat to the rest of the world that they paid attention to was when he started crossing over his own borders into other countries.
Correct.
Yeah, and then that's when everyone was like, whoa, because before, when it was mass genocide of Jews within Germany, the world was pretty much shunning him. I mean, look at what we do today, right? It comes to sanctions. That's like the number one weapon of the UN. Of the Security Council is sanctions until it starts to oppress others outside the borders of those sovereign countries. But now that there is, answer me this, for what you've seen, these organs that are being harvested, are they being shipped to other countries right now?
Absolutely. I wanted to share something with you, another clip that I forgot to mention or share with you the other day. Yes, the Chinese Communist Party has been harvesting alive the organs of Falun Gong practitioners for the last 20 years. Now, I was in a child trafficking court in London exposing this, Rick. I'm not sure if I can show you on here, but if I may, I don't know how much time we have left. But these organs are, sorry, not
good.
This one. Let me see.
Bitcoin's important too.
Bitcoin's important too. And they have been banned in China, banned and controlled in China. Yeah,
that's an interesting concept too. I just had a crypto expert on too, and how China is banning Bitcoin now.
Yes.
I was looking at that, the Shiba Inu coin, just last night too.
It's unbelievable, yeah. This is a little bit of my personal, just searching, because I do a lot of research and investigations and this and that. But let me share with IT&J Falun Gong, because I think this is very important for people to see. This is where I was holding, because I don't want people to think I'm a conspiracy theorist when I share this with them. But this is in London.
Of Parliament, and one of the very few
this is in London,
elected under both the.
Now, before I share a little bit more, on the left-hand side, that's Dr. Enver Tohti, the surgeon that committed forced organ harvesting in China and shared that these people are alive. The blood is flowing through their veins while they're alive, and they're slightly sedated, a little bit heavily sedated if they start moving, because otherwise 4 soldiers have to hold the Falun Gong practitioner down to extract all the organs. The other 2 gentlemen, Ethan Gutman, the bald-headed American investigator, and then David Kilgore, they are the main investigators who have written over, must have been 15 years of evidence since 2006, 52 pieces of evidence talking about how sinister this is. And
how do these guys not get wiped off the face of the planet?
How do I not get wiped off the face of the earth? I'm relentless, Rick. I've been going since 21. Before these guys, I was there. I was 21. I'm surprised I'm even alive. I've been involved in assassination attempts. I mean, you can't believe, the death threats, it's insane. I had to sit down with the FBI. The late Robert David Steele, who passed away of COVID, so to speak, he was at this court, and I was talking to Charlie Ward the other day as well. I don't know if you know him, the great Charlie Ward, who bands together with Oliver Stone's son, Sean Stone, and Sasha Stone, who you see here. Extraordinary people exposing particularly human trafficking and child trafficking. They've also, the amount of stories, the death threats, but you know what, Rick, to fail to support the good and to fail to expose evil is unacceptable. But let me just share with you what David Kilgore just says here about the organ harvesting, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
And Craig that day went back to his school and started what became Free the Children. His brother Mark joined him.
He just talks about the child trafficking, but let's just get back into it.
Here are just 2 kinds of evidence of the 18 substantive kinds of evidence we found. We had people calling to institutions across China, hospitals, prisons, and so on, mostly hospitals, asking if they had Falun Gong organs available. I think you mentioned, Sasha, actually it was Robert who mentioned yesterday that Falun Gong don't smoke or drink. They're very healthy, and that's the reason that people wanted Falun Gong organs, and we discovered that. And as I think it was mentioned in the film, that only Falun Gong were examined by doctors coming into these forced labor camps. And of course, they wondered, why are you examining me when you're torturing me to give up my Falun Gong beliefs? So, and the way it works, of course, is that when somebody arrives in Shanghai, the number 1 people's hospital in Shanghai is where most people go from Europe. They're blood tested and so on, and then they go out on the computer and they find a match for somebody through this testing of Falun Gong. And they go out to the camp and they grab the poor man or woman and they give them a potassium, now it appears, and their liver or whatever is taken out. It's flown to Shanghai, and somebody comes back to London with a new liver, and they're probably told they're getting it from a convicted murderer. Although, of course, they don't want it from a convicted murderer. They want it from a Falun Gong practitioner. But this is just absolutely sick beyond belief that this is happening. And
anyway, I don't want to take up too much time, but people can see the full 1 hour. But I wanted to share that with you, Rick, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist here. I'm not wasting my time to just pull things out of my arse. I've been on the front lines. I've sacrificed everything. This has become a blood, sweat, and tear crusade. Not in an extreme way. I'm not part of the FBI, the CIA. I'm not military. I haven't been part of the Mossad, even though I come from a Jewish family. I took it upon myself as a mortal man to do something that was good in this world. What is a man who cannot make the world a better place? And here we are discussing today. And I wanted everybody to see that, because I'm not here to mess around. I brought the main investigators who have been around to over 40 different countries, talked to the United Nations, the World Health Organization, who are refuting this evidence because they got CCP spies. Remember the database, 1.95 million people infiltrating into these organizations. And your question, coming full circle, why aren't they talking about the organ harvesting? Because they bribed, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and they're remaining silent. But fortunately, the people who are doing some good, Sasha Stone, David Kilgore, David Mattis, Ethan Gutman, Dr. Enver Tohti, and I were trying to, and Cyrus, we're trying to get this out. And I don't know why we're still alive. Maybe God's protecting us. Who knows? But we're still here, man. We're still around and we're still breathing. And that's why it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you, brother. That's a good place to stop for today, because I want to encourage everyone, because regardless of how much we continue to have conversations or whatever, the only way that this is going to continue to get out is if people start to research for themselves. So we'll put some links in the show notes, of course, with some of the references today that you provided. And then that's just the starting point, right? For everyone, you have to just go research this yourself as much as your heart demands that you do so.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, if I can just take just a moment to share with people where they can find the...
Please do, yep.
Yeah, just quickly for a second. Here we go. If people want to learn about what Falun Gong is, and the 100 million people who have been targeted and the forced organ harvesting, you can go to faluninfo.net. Now, if people think, well, I want an independent investigator. I don't want, to be confirmation bias here. These are for the skeptics. The international coalition to end transplant abuse in China, endtransplantabuse.org. Here are all the investigators, ladies and gentlemen, investigative reports. So here for all the skeptics, and I love the skeptics out there because they question everything until the truth comes out. Here's the China Tribunal. This is the China Tribunal right here, an independent tribunal into forced organ harvesting. The tribunal examined all evidence and have come out with unanimous conclusions. The slaughter from Ethan Gutman. This is the bald-headed chap. Okay, you can read his investigative work, and Bloody Harvest, the 2000 investigative report by David Kilgore and David Mattis. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the video section where you can go to the Coalition Roundtable. Excellent 4 series on this about. With all the investigators, Anastasia Lin, who is the Miss World Canada, and Chris Chappell, who's got a famous YouTube channel, China Uncensored, as well as an investigative award-winning journalist, Matthew Robinson. You can take a look at it. And the last website I would say that I advocate for, these are not my websites, I just advocate and bring traffic to because I'm too busy on the front lines, is stoporganharvesting.org. You can take action on all 3 of them if you want. Just go down, your voice can help end the persecution. Here's the award-winning documentaries. And that's it, Rick. And again, brother, I am so grateful, man, to see your incredible son who hopefully is going to take on your legacy when you're old and gray and sitting in a wheelchair. But I don't think that's going to be the point, because you are a freaking warrior, man.
Thank you, brother. To
Lisa and to Ryan, to Ashley, man, God bless you guys. Thanks for having me, really.
Mitchell, thanks for being on, my man. Keep speaking up, and everyone else who's listening, start to do your own research on these things, because go to the websites that Mitchell's talking about, because that's the place where you need to start. Just educate yourselves. Mitchell, thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Take care.